we're gonna be dependent on that, so is that,
No, so that's the issue. So technical difficulties, she's not able to get it to work. I could print out some copies and we could do some sharing of copies. Otherwise, what is the most important piece of it, do you think? You wanna
well,
plan?
the wall card is the plan, and
I know.
what people have provided feedback on, which I think we're all like, we'll be on the blind to know what someone
Sure.
that's
So
the late
maybe
submissions.
I'll put it on the Google Drive, and for those with computers, you can look at it there, and then for those without,
My copy.
I can print it out for you.
I have a copy, so you don't have.
Yeah, I have a copy.
Okay.
Well, I have a copy of what you gave us.
Yeah, but I was,
You want the
I was
whole
relying
plan.
on the online because of whatever edits would have come. All right, well, you have the
Well,
master.
no, you know what? No edits have been made
Oh,
since I emailed it to you last Friday, 2 Fridays ago.
so
Correct?
the only submission? I guess we should have opened the call and then,
Let's,
all right, yeah.
let's figure it out. All right.
We'll hash it out then.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And
I am gonna print some though, so I'll go back and forth, but you can open the meeting, okay?
hey, do you really need, so we're all here, I mean, do you really need to have like roll call? Because not every board is the same roll call.
No, yeah, you don't need to do roll call.
Okay, I won't get in trouble now.
Well, you still might, but.
So give me a line.
For different things.
Other things. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon. This is the Monday, June 6, 2022 meeting of the Community Preservation Committee. My name is Jason Molina. I'm the chairperson of the committee. And I'm seeing that we have a quorum and all members in attendance today, including a member from Planning and Economic Development, so we are good to begin. All right, first order of business is to review and approve the minutes from May 2nd, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Nay. All approved. Imagine if anybody had any comments, they would have said no. That time. Okay, number 3 is the timeline, and this is a running item on our agenda. Basically, we're at the end of our fiscal year. It's been an interesting year. We started in September, and every month since then, we've been learning along the way about what is the Community Preservation Act and how we apply it here in Shrewsbury. We've spent time meeting with the Community Preservation Coalition, which has been very helpful to us and other communities in the Commonwealth with adopting CPA and implementing it in their towns. We've together started the Community Preservation Plan, which I'm hoping that tonight we will be finalizing that, which is that's our basically our charge for the year, to say that we've reviewed that. We've held many of us have had breakout sessions with a lot of boards and committees along the way to develop that plan. We had our public forum. And, we're concluding here tonight with that. So I think, feeling really good that, we all have come to this point, and I look forward to hearing the last roll call on any edits to the Community Preservation Plan and modifying and approving it for this year. So that's the timeline spiel. And with that, let's get into the Community Preservation Plan and see where it stands from edits.
All right, it is printing, so for those that don't have a copy in front of them, perhaps, give it a second. It should notify me when it's done. But I will say, so I had emailed it out to the committee members on, Friday, May 27th, for you to take a final look at, I believe. And since then, I'd been on vacation last week, so the only comments that I've had since then is actually only Gail's comment tonight. Jason, I believe your comments came in before that was sent out, so those were incorporated into the copy that was emailed to you all. So in fact, besides this small one that we can go over at the time we go through it, there's nothing. So if we wanted, you could perhaps just, if anyone had any questions or comments about the redlined edits, we could take a 5-minute
Break.
break.
Let's take a break.
You want to vote on it real quick? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. screen. So anybody watching this video will be able to see the document, but members in the audience here, we will narrate through it as best as we can. We do have printouts, so we are enabled to work through this. All right. Ms. McAllister, you were saying?
Sure. So, I suppose how would you like me to proceed? Would you like to go page or section by section through with the suggested edits, or would you like me to
I think
stay at a high level? What do you?
I think
What's your
just to have, just for closure and just to keep it fresh in our minds, can you just give a high level, like where did this last round, who it went to?
Sure.
And say you got collected from these
Yes.
departments and.
Yes. So, this has been a long time coming, so I have to think about what this process has ended up with. But as I was saying, May 27th, you were sent a copy with redlined edits as well as a clean copy that include your own revisions and comments over the months, your final revisions for each of the sections you were responsible for. It also includes town staff comments. So we sent it out, or I sent it out to department heads of relevant departments in town. We sent it out to the town manager's office as well as the planning department. And I got varying levels of feedback from all of these different staff members as well that are incorporated here. For the most part, I haven't indicated who left what comments, but sometimes when it's relevant, you can see I may have called out, the DPW has commented or suggested we add certain things. So now hopefully you've reviewed it, and we can either run through those red line changes or simply ask if anyone has any questions about those edits.
I think we should go
from
let's call it the section. We'll
Sure.
pause, see if there's any questions there. Then
All right.
moving on.
So I'm sharing my screen, and viewers can see the first section, Letter to Shrewsbury. So for all the CPC members, that's where we are. There are minor changes in language. I'll call out that I, at the recommendation of the coalition, have changed the affordable housing category when it's in a list with open space, rec, and historic preservation to community housing. And there is an email exchange from the coalition that I think I was forwarded to you explaining that, but it's generally just more of a broad interpretation. Anything to add on that?
No, I think that's good.
On that page, I spent more time looking at the other sections. First, I'd like to comment that the format looks terrific. You did a great job. I know you consulted with Gail as well. It looks fantastic. In the letter at the bottom, I never thought to look at it. There's a few comma and spacing errors in a list of our names. After mine, there's vice chair, space, then a comma.
Thank you, yep.
And the commas after each at-large member probably are unnecessary because the others don't have commas.
Yes, thank you.
I obsessively
We're
nitpicky.
changing- I'll
That's
change
all I
No,
can
no, I
find.
think because the last edits were somebody had reordered, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
who reordered that?
All right. Any other, I don't mean to lead this, but if
Yeah, no,
you'd
that's-
like
that's
to
good.
That was,
ask any
Yeah.
other
that was
comments?
it.
So we'll take it as any edits at this point discussed, unless someone has an argument, counter argument to that, we'll take it as acceptance. All right, okay? All right, so if you guys got something to say, speak up. Anything else regarding the letter? Okay.
Section 2 is the community overview. And this section, the only comment that was made by the town manager was simply if this history is consistent with other historical narratives about Shrewsbury and other documents, other town documents. So I reviewed both the master plan and the OSRP plan to ensure that this more or less aligns, and it does. The only changes I saw are made, again, suggested, were the red lines you see under colonial and industrial Shrewsbury, and that's simply kind of rephrasing actually to pull language right out of the OSRP document, because there were just some very slight kind of date changes. So I just figured we would put the language from OSRP in there.
Concerns, questions about that?
One more comma. My
Tell me.
11th grade English teacher would be so proud. Second paragraph under Shrewsbury's indigenous peoples, the comma after freshwater people should be inside the quotation.
Okay, done.
But you're with the grammar police.
Sometimes I'm pretty mellow about that. I get also tripped up with British versus American.
That's it. Okay.
Oh,
Thank you, Mark.
perfect.
Nice, Mark.
All right,
All right.
next.
Yes, please.
Okay, Community Preservation Act. Very few changes in this section. Again, you'll just see community housing has been changed from affordable.
Questions, concerns? Okay.
CPA funds. Again, community housing has changed. I may have recolored this pie chart to
You did, yeah.
correspond with
Thank you.
colored sections.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, because that was something that stood out to me, was that a different palette, but, yep, awesome, great, thank you.
Let's see, I don't think anything else here. The uses, all right, yep, that's it. Keep going, Jason.
Yes, please.
Some slight language change.
This is member roles and,
Yes, thank you. Member and role of the CPC. I'll just scroll slowly through this. Again, most of our changes have been incorporated prior to this most recent redline version. All right.
anybody else with that? Concerns? No? Any issues?
Well, under key responsibilities, there's a
Go for it.
space after number 1, and there isn't after 2 and 3.
All right, let's see. Oh. That might not be a on-the-fly edit.
Oh, yeah.
Something to
'cause
do
of,
with
As
formatting.
soon as that auto formatting
Yeah,
tricks us,
I can play around with it.
whichever way it lets you
But-
do it is absolutely fine.
You could always cheat and just do a little bit of. Okay,
yes, that sounds good.
all right.
Okay, next section. Planning process. Okay, is that open comment meeting?
So this, it is not, this is a formatting comment. I
Oh, okay.
tried to get rid of those, so I apologize. Because I figured that those formatting changes would be accepted. This is a addition of the Parks Master Plan, which is suggested by the Parks and Rec Division. Just asking that we include this document. It categories, or it has 4 parks. I'd have to look it up to name all of them, but they're kind of the major parks in town. And
Dean Park, Maple Ave, Lake
Thank you.
Street,
Prospect?
and
and don't know if Prospect was on there. See, the 4th one escapes.
I can certainly pull it up if the
Yeah.
committee's interested now. But in general, Angela Snell asked me to include it simply because it would be an informative document, kind of with a visioning for the parks in Shrewsbury.
Could we make that document available on our drive, please?
Sure, absolutely.
And is that the correct title for it? It's not the Parks or Shrewsbury Parks or?
I'll confirm here. Perhaps we
do you
can.
think?
Don't remember the actual title of it. Don't know if it's a "the" or if it's a Parks and Cemetery. I believe it's just Parks, but
It's
we can check with it.
Yeah, I think it's actually maybe the 4 parks listed out, and then it's like a colon Parks Master Plan, or the other way around. So I'll make sure it's the full, complete title. It's a great suggestion.
All right.
And I'll reorder for the dates. That's Rajesh, just, you wanna,
No. Yeah, apart from that, can we link them here with this so that users can refer directly there to the actual reports.
Yes, that would be fine. I can do that as well. I'll, make a, see if I can comment here and
Yeah,
add those
so,
changes.
yeah, so again, we're gonna be, later on, we're gonna be approving based on the comments that were made here, saying this is what it's intended, and we can move forward with that. Yeah, that's a good idea, but no links to that.
Okay.
Okay,
Just some date changes, clarification.
okay,
Now-
project application process.
And I apologize, I don't remember who suggested this. I want to make sure the committee's comfortable with the word project application process, rather than, maybe it was, I believe it was to add clarity as to not, it's not the application process for being on the committee or something or other like that, so we can edit that language as
Do
needed,
you
but
think it should be project funding? Funding, no?
I think project application covers it. I mean, you're applying, the projects that meet the criteria are then invited to apply for funding, so it's about the project.
Hmm.
I think it's appropriate.
Kathy say no?
I agree, just project application.
Agree.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I'm all good.
All right, all good, okay.
You want me to give you something else?
I'm like, hey, what's this?
Grab it.
That page wouldn't be confused with this page under the application process. This is part of the document, right? But it's not the same as that, so would that, if you kept it that way, wouldn't it be confused with this page?
So should we take away the project, is that what you're saying?
No, not to keep it, no, I think project application, yeah.
Add it to that?
Yeah, so here needs
Yeah,
to say
to
project
keep the
application
project.
too.
Yeah, so
Keep
keep the word
project.
project.
Rather than just application process. There'd be two
Oh, I see, yeah,
If you take away
I'm not
a
following.
project, then you got two application project pages. Am I not seeing that right?
I agree with you with project, and I think we have to bring this into conversation, so I think we'll just
Okay.
circle back to that when,
Okay.
okay. Project application process.
is that? Okay.
Yep.
The other comment I want to highlight and call out in here is a comment made by, or requested by DPW. Members can just read the full statement, but they asked us to include something to clarify to applicants that a project idea is not enough, that they have to be able to move forward to implement it if funding is awarded. It's not, I guess they want to ensure that it's not that a petitioner brings forward an idea, we fund it, and then ask the DPW or another town department to be in charge of completing it. So just throughout the application process and this plan, they asked to make clear that obviously they would be willing to oversee projects and assist in projects that they sign on to and with written consent, but they just want to make clear that this isn't the function of the CPC, right? It's not an project idea submission. Is that clear? Or do you have
Actually,
any
no.
questions about that?
No, it's not clear.
So basically, the town department's saying that if citizen brings forward an idea, it has to be a complete idea, meaning that it has to include who's gonna oversee the project, who's gonna do, because the town departments are not gonna be that oversee board?
Not in every case. They want to ensure that if a project idea is brought forth, the petitioner understands that it's going to be on them to act as the project manager, so to speak, of the project, and that it doesn't automatically fall to a town department based on submission to this board, I guess. That's not to say that the town departments aren't going to be part of any of these projects. That's not at all, but just simply that they don't want it to be the expectation going in.
Got it.
And in that statement they added, it does say, except in the case of prior written consent. And in the application, not to get ahead of ourselves, we do ask who's involved, who will maintain, sustain, or oversee it.
Exactly,
So
and
that is in the
we can
application.
talk about it in the application as well. And this is something that I think will discuss with town departments moving forward once we go into the project application process, but they just asked that we include something to this effect in the plan as well.
Okay, and I'm sorry, as it reads now, is there a must or shall in there? Or is it just like light? Just wanna make sure that
Will
I
not,
can't
it's
say-
a will not,
will not.
will not oversee unless this prior written consent is Deb just mentioned.
Would you like a paper copy?
Yeah, thanks.
It says, please note that any project brought forth will need to be designed, overseen, and implemented by the petitioner. Town departments will not oversee projects submitted by outside organizations or citizen groups except in the case of prior written consent.
We refer to community groups in the application, which we're not discussing yet. But do we want to make that language consistent?
I think that's an appropriate change.
So instead of citizen groups, community groups.
So,
I feel like community groups is vague. And I wasn't sure if you were meaning more towards like like a sports group, like an entity that's definitely as opposed to a couple of neighbors getting together and calling themselves the
when
betterment of
Martha
this
brought
street.
it up, what it made me think of is we have members of the community who are great members of the community who may not actually technically be a citizen. And I would hate for them to feel like they couldn't come up with a great idea and partner with a town department because they happen to not have permanent citizenship. By saying citizen group, I'm just afraid
Oh,
that.
no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean citizen group.
Oh, okay.
No, I think, in relative to
Community
the application process, relative to communicate, do that, the opening lines you had in the application process, you mentioned community, who can submit an application? And in that
We
list
might-
was community groups.
We might want to revisit who can submit,
Okay.
Actually, I have written notes on, my notes for that part of the discussion
Okay.
was, is that broad enough, what we currently have there?
Yeah, so I want to just be cognizant, I don't want to say yes to that until we approve that, and then we change it, right? So,
I think Martha's suggestion makes sense, and then when we get to the application, we make sure that our, who can do this is broad enough to include everyone.
okay, so could you say that revision again, would you like?
Often it only comes
Please.
out once. I will try.
Yeah,
Town departments will not oversee projects submitted by outside organizations or community groups, except in the case of prior written consent.
Should it be a comma? So meaning that, should it be outside organizations, comma, citizen groups, and that way you don't cross one out? And, because what if they're not part of a community group? What if they're just a couple of neighbors getting together that is not a group, but has an idea?
I think we need to define community groups when we get to the application process.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We could also just remove the or and just submit it by, or I suppose is an outside organization still too formal?
If formal would be submitted by non-governmental bodies. That would be very formal.
Well, we can leave it as is, or I could add more.
I agree with Deborah. I think we want to get away from the word citizen. I would very much like to see that not in this document and replaced by community or town residents or something like
Yeah.
that.
agreed, yeah.
I could say by residents, comma, outside organizations or community groups.
That sounds
Yep.
good.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah, but when we get to the application side, we're gonna be saying,
Right.
you have to work through,
Right.
right, because you have to work through the town, if you will, or another organization, because, for the success of the project, prevailing wage laws and procurement laws, success of the project, who's, so we'll, I think that here, it's fine to say directionally that these folks can do it, but practically, individual citizen, I'm not gonna individually gonna say, yes, I'm gonna put a park
And if
here.
someone does come forth, they won't make it through phase one, because we'll send them back and say, it's a lovely idea, but where's the how?
Right,
Go find the how.
right, right. And we'll help them with the how. Try to. Okay. All right. I think, so the idea here was the application, this one page of the application process was just to get into the community preservation plan at a high level. Are we satisfying that need at a high level here by this change? Without going into so deep, because we will have a separate application process with its corresponding forms. So I think that detail could live somewhere else. So are we good? Is this?
We are, can I ask one more question about this section, though?
Yeah.
I noticed that the select board was struck and replaced with board of selectmen.
Yes.
Yes, until there's
Yeah.
approval by
Gee,
AG, yeah.
Okay,
unfortunately.
all right.
So I think that'd just be a global find and replace of everything when we get to that
It
point.
did say this was to be a living document.
It is a different,
Okay.
yes. But as of June 6th, 2022, it's not approved yet.
Just for clarity, are we going with Rose's last adjustment on that statement, or are we leaving it as is?
We're going to change it to, as you've mentioned there, right? Having the community groups.
Okay, so with
Right.
no
No
residents.
resident.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Good. This date below, oh, is that me? Did I suggest that time, the February to March?
Yes.
Right.
Is that still conform to your application
Yeah,
documents?
Let me just take a look at that. CPA deliberates, March, April.
Right now in the plan, we have March
Yeah.
to April for deliberations and voting.
Oh, the reason why I moved it to February, March is because we have to be done by March in order for the
Say
select
for
board to get it.
Finance
Yeah,
committee, if
yeah.
you want to weigh in on it.
So we have to change that. It has to say February, March, and I'll just change it on the application side. Thank you.
And on that line, would that be CPC deliberates and votes?
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
And the D would be lowercase?
yes.
Okay, could somebody clarify this for me? So it's line 6 here in the application timeline?
We're
Is that what you're looking at?
in the green box on this community preservation plan.
I can't possibly see that.
Yes.
You want me to print
that's-
that
Okay, so
Another
this
one?
is the line?
That's the line, deliberates in number 6,
Okay.
yes.
So this is going to be,
Well, we're gonna revise that in a moment, but
okay,
penciling it's February, March.
okay.
So align with the edits, then the community preservation plan, saying February, March.
And then Martha's edits, that it should be CPC. And then lowercase d, deliberates and votes. And it should be Board of Selectmen signs. This board is singular.
And do we want to make
Good.
that a separate category that's March/April, just so that the meeting, in case the meetings don't line up?
Good idea.
In here, sorry.
So have the first sentence, CPC deliberates and votes on funding recommendations, period. Separate section which says March/April, Board of Selectmen sign the town meeting warrant. So split those out.
Yeah, why?
So would the
I don't-
Board of Selectmen need to have that complete by the end of March?
Probably not.
No.
So actually,
I'm not confident enough to speak to probably the full schedule for town meeting, but if this needs to be tweaked,
Yeah, no, but I hope I didn't submit that. Because it would be April, May. Yeah.
okay, yeah,
The way it lines up is that.
I don't-
Yeah,
no problem. I can. So you want us starting in February, what should the timeline read?
February, okay, so February, March is CPC deliberates and votes on funding recommendations. And then April, May is the Board of Selectmen sign the town meeting warrant. The Finance Committee and BOS deliberate on funding recommendations.
Oh, okay. I think that is captured in the changes I just made.
Oh,
Can't really see it, can you?
no, it was, yeah, the warrant is signed in March, sorry, that's, okay, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna bring it back in my head now. The warrant is signed in March, then they meet later on to deliberate the individual warrant articles, they have all the pre-meetings in here and talk about that. April begins that process, then it leads into Finance Committee doing their part through May, and then obviously town meeting. So, it is that the warrant is signed February, March time frame. It's April and May, so, I take that back. Read it again. February, March, CPC deliberates, lowercase d, and votes on funding recommendations. Is that a semicolon, Board of Selectmen signs the town meeting warrant. And then keeping the strike through in the next line for April, May, where it says Board of Selectmen sign the town meeting warrant, striking that out as offered.
Say it again.
Keeping
Fine.
the strikeout on April,
Yeah.
May. Basically keeping it as is.
Great.
Except this, making that plural for signs in the February, March.
Okay.
CPC and lowercase d.
Yes.
All right.
And just from a formatting standpoint, May, June is left justified rather than centered.
Yeah. I think I grabbed, or noticed that earlier, changed it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Okay.
Page 12. Okay. Open space.
I believe, one change is that I just got rid of the subheading numbers. So I've deleted 8.1, 8.2, and that's just simply, I think it was Jason's
Yep.
suggestion. We don't have that for the other sections. And we really don't, it's not that long of a document or section that perhaps they need those numbers broken up, so.
Yeah, because you do have the table of contents that would at least say this section and which page, so that it was duplicative to have the numbering and scheme and et cetera. And it was the thing we introduced early on for the table of contents conversation, but not necessary now.
Additionally, I've also, believe it was the town manager's office had asked that I update the Public Lands Committee data, and so I have updated that based on, I used Article 43 actually from the most recent town meeting.
Oh, okay, good. You're on page 14.
I am still under open space, but yes,
Yep,
page
yep.
14.
So that's the verbiage underneath the chart there about the acreage.
And that same kind of inquiry was made in the italicized note, and it is still in progress, is my understanding. So that can remain, perhaps we can try to take it out next time we edit if it has been completed at that point.
Okay, sounds good. All right, you have another, I'll say, is completed, open space inventory. Is that the same? One and the same? I was looking at the verbiage above the picture. And you were talking about also the verbiage on the
Oh, yeah,
comments?
this is,
Okay,
yeah. Although
still in progress. Okay.
committee probably be capitalized.
Were you-
Just also, Jeff Howland made the suggestion that the Lake Quinsigamon watershed be separated out under aquifer protection needs, because Lake Quinsig is not within the aquifer protection area. That is not something I was aware of, but it's good that we had that kind of review on this document, right? So, just something to call it there.
All right,
I think all the other changes are fairly minor. So going
okay, anybody else?
page 15 and 16.
Martha, you good, open space?
Mm-hmm.
Recreation.
Let me remind myself here, but again, I've removed the numbers. Here, this is, so I've referred also to this master plan on page 18. To the board member's earlier point, we should probably keep the reference to it consistent. So here I've referred to it as the master plan for these 4 parks, prepared by the BSC group. That's the same park master plan referenced above, so I can get that final title and replace it in both sections.
Yeah, it actually has the Fourth Field Municipal Drive in there.
Yeah.
Which is good.
That's the end of recreation.
Jim, you good with it?
One question on that part about the master plan. The following needs areas were identified in the BSC report. Most of those bullets are, renovation, improvement, consideration. It says new field space at Lake Street Park added. To be consistent, I mean, has that already happened? Or to be consistent, should we just say new field space at Lake Street Park?
I do not know if that's happened.
Has not
Is that, okay.
Maybe get rid of the word added.
Sure. I mean, it was part of the plan, but it has not happened.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, last call, recreation. Okay, historic preservation.
Gail sent me a quick email before this meeting to
How many
remove,
times you look at this and you don't see it?
I know, right? Just to remove something, and I'll scroll through. I don't think there are any other comments on this section other than that one, but where is it?
Page 19.
Maybe page 19?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's now changed. Well, what, where are you?
I may have-
You reference, because 19 is now recreation.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the
It's under
pages may have
the
changed.
section of lost resources.
Yeah.
You wanna
Starts
add
with the
add a
mansions
resource?
of Shrewsbury.
You're adding a resource?
There's a picture of the park
Yeah,
right there. We're
I think-
eliminating the 6th one down.
yeah.
Home on site of current Veterans Inc., South Street. Since I can't totally identify the home's name, I didn't think it was appropriate to just put the house of the, used to sit on that lot.
You took,
See, where it says underneath.
yeah, no, are you saying Jason Warehouse?
No,
Underneath Thomas Harrington, Harold Park.
for those of you with printed versions, I changed this already, and I believe and I apologize, made it
Oh,
outside
maybe
of
you
track
already eliminated it?
changes,
Okay.
which
Okay.
is not something I've been doing, but I think just in the moment,
Yes, there was.
in this
there was-
meeting, I think I may have done that without track changes, so I apologize.
Okay, no problem.
But I think it's out of your printed versions already.
It was put on there prior to getting the information of identifying the house, and
Okay.
so I don't think it's appropriate to just put, unless there's an actual name and a significance of it, what's the purpose?
Also, Edgemere Diner is no longer in the town, right?
Right.
Yeah,
This is a list of lost resources, though,
lost.
so
Yeah, the lost.
yes.
I think it got removed actually just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just in the
Since
papers
we say one of the earlier ones, the Thomas Harrington Harold Parker House, we say it was moved to Napa Valley, California. Should we say the Edgemere Diner is moved to what? New York?
Catskills.
Catskills?
Well,
Yeah.
not really.
Not there yet.
It hasn't
Just
really
in
been
draft.
established where it is yet.
Well,
Kind of in storage, isn't it?
is it, okay.
Yeah.
But should it say moved?
En
Only so that
route,
it
en
doesn't
route
suggest that
to
it
the
fell
Catskills.
down, got swallowed by the earth.
It's,
Since
it
we
doesn't bother
mentioned
me
that
to
other things were
identify it
moved.
more.
Relocated.
Yeah.
Relocated.
Only
Relocated?
because we did
Yeah.
that
So it
with
wasn't,
the
it
others.
wasn't destroyed.
Yeah.
I can
It
say, yeah.
exists, but not
Right.
here.
Relocated?
Yep.
All right,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Relocated out of Shrewsbury?
Yes, or located out of Shrewsbury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could even, what, is it going to the Catskills? Because then you could say out of state.
Well, it's in Grafton until the guy can figure out where he's gonna put it.
Oh,
So maybe that's one of the edits in the dynamic document we make next year.
Yes, yes.
Maybe it'll be somewhere.
We'll try, we'll find,
God.
find what happens to it. Where did Edgemere Diner go? Which is, honestly, it's a darn shame because, I mean, when all those apartments open up, and where are they gonna go eat?
no
Where are they
diner.
gonna go eat? They're gonna eat right there.
My father-in-law
too late.
loved that
Too
place.
late. Oh, what a shame. What a shame.
An opportunity, Jason.
Opportunity.
Opportunity.
You could buy a diner from another,
We can buy a diner and put it right there.
there's one in Pawtucket that's really good.
There you go.
All right, that's the end of affordable housing. There's no major comments that I had in the red lines.
Just a question in that section, the first line, a recent inventory, Shrewsbury's historic structures, many of which will be included on MACIS. What is MACIS?
Are you all the way at the top?
Yep.
MACR is Macris, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the,
you.
Massachusetts Historical Commission's list of historic resources.
Should we write that out the first time? And
I
then,
think it is, I think
I
it
didn't
is
see it, because I looked before I asked, but maybe,
Well, actually, it's there. It's under the Massachusetts Historical Commission, MHC.
oh, okay, you're right,
Yeah.
all right.
But in that paragraph, it's
It's
spelled with,
Macris.
it's Macris, and where you're talking about, it's I think we're missing the R.
Are you looking at, where are you looking at?
The red, it's
Eligibility of
missing the R.
historic preservation?
Historic preservation. So after
I
the
see.
Shrewsbury Historical Society, there's a
Oh,
two-line
back in the
paragraph in
beginning.
addition to municipal and state entities. And just below that, it references MACIS.
Sharp eyes.
Well, it's Cultural Resource Information System is a Massachusetts, well, we could spell it out, I suppose.
Well,
No, it's up above. I
Is it MACRIS or MACIS?
She's saying is here.
Yeah.
There's an R here, there's no.
It's-
Oh,
It
no,
is
the R
spelled
is
out
missing on
under
that,
there,
yes, RIS.
but when we reference it again, we might be missing a letter. That's what we're
Matters.
wondering.
All right,
We are. Confirmed, we're missing an R.
Okay.
In addition to the Edgemere Diner, we're also missing an R.
We need to bring it back.
Good catch.
Bring back that R.
that's fine too.
All right, any other eagle eyes, sharp eyes here?
Should,
This is the final, well, you know.
in the bullet, the red bullet, Mountain View Cemetery, should family lot 240 Main Street, should lot be capitalized?
I'm sorry, Jerry.
Or family not capitalized?
I'm looking for it here. Mountain View Cemetery, sections 1 through 12, okay. Glavin Center Cemetery, Lake Street, state-owned, Hillside,
Say no, flip around.
oh, family lot 240
I
Main,
could
yeah,
almost make that.
that's across from Lundgren's
Get my,
Dairy.
Would you like me to print it out?
There's a,
cataract surgery.
where Lundgren's Dairy used to be, right?
Nope.
Irita Road,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
past
okay,
Irita Road.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we know
But
what
should
family?
lot be capitalized or
Oh,
not?
is that what you're,
Yes.
That's the question.
Oh, lot here, lot.
hey, I'm not an English major,
240
so
Main Street.
I'll defer to,
Do we know what family? Since we have other things to identify it a little bit more, or it's just a family lot?
I can get the specific on that and give it to Rowan. I'm sure there's a name.
If it's
There's several
significant
people
enough
buried
to-
there, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
the
significant enough to be
Gannon's house
identified.
across the street that was the original cemetery. So I'll check my list to get that name. Yeah,
Okay.
that would,
Can we take a verbal agreement here that we'll,
we'll.
if you
we'll
have
put
the
a
name,
Name identified
and
to
we're
that lot.
empowering Gail to provide the name and
Yes.
trust in her research on
And
that?
should lot be capitalized?
Yes.
I think
Yes.
it should.
It's gonna be a title, it should, yeah.
Yes, I think so too. Okay. Yep, no problem, I can get that.
Okay, and if you can't find it, we'll leave it as is.
I'll
With
go
the
over and look
except
at the
for
names on
capitalized.
on the stones if I have to. If they're still visible.
If this is visible. Are you pitching an idea? A project proposal, I should say.
Anything else? Over in the red, right above that Mountain View Cemetery, is that where you found the R missing in Macris
Correct.
on yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All good, historic preservation?
Yep.
So Gail, you're all set with your,
That's fine.
good? Okay. Affordable housing, no, community housing. And the printout didn't come through, is that,
Yeah,
Oh, just
that'll
the-
be fixed when the
Got it.
formatting and the red lines go away.
community housing, okay?
And it just says community, not community housing, doesn't it?
Yeah, that'll be fixed.
Okay.
It's just, it's a formatting
Okay.
thing, but I'll ensure that there's community housing there as well.
Thank you.
All right.
Is the purple working for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'm seeing the comments, was left by me, but I think it was a comment of someone at some point, just wondering if we had updated estimates for these two highlighted numbers, and I looked a little, but, you know,
Two highlighted number, oh, okay.
it's on page
Yeah.
26. It's, you know, I feel like aggregate data like that,
I'm just saying,
It lags
Yeah.
behind.
Like-
I
I-
have a
Yeah,
feeling that this is
so-
not gonna change very much.
maybe we can just keep our eye on that as,
Mhm.
and the next edit.
Yeah, and I think I even read somewhere that it wouldn't be available till a certain
Yeah.
time, which
It's,
is
they're so
is
behind.
next year. I think it
Yeah.
was 2023.
Yeah.
which part is this, sorry?
And under what was 11.2, that data
Yeah.
is kind of old. Remember, I think that was one of the conversations we had early on, because
Yeah,
I was
very
concerned
early.
about it.
Yeah.
And there is no more recent data
Mm.
that's currently published. I think because the census was just last year, so they're still putting it together.
We do, I will say, you know what, that, if the committee's, comfortable with it, I'm gonna suggest a change. I did, about, right before I left, 2 weeks ago, I got an updated, subsidized housing inventory list from DHCD for this year, and I changed it in the table, but I didn't change the number above. It was a last minute update, so so if you'll see in the purple table, it says our total down here is 893. But up in the paragraph above, it says 887. So if the committee's comfortable with that, I can update that. So I take it back. We do have that number updated as of a few weeks ago. Is that clear?
That 893 is the newest number?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
And that was something
Kathy.
that we talked about as well, because I had two different
Yeah.
numbers, and
Right.
we couldn't figure out where the additional 4
Yes.
pieces of property were. So,
And to be honest, I don't know where that came from, but are you comfortable? Do you see where I'm
yes,
saying?
yep,
Right, we can update that.
yes, because I think I even had a note in mine saying I've got 2 different stats, and I don't,
Yeah.
You're okay.
But I got it from DHCD, and that one I think should be the most accurate.
So,
On page 28, and that purple table, the second line of unnamed,
Right here.
where it says scattered site, would that not be scattered sites?
I can confirm this list is straight from DHCD. If they put scattered sites, I can, you're probably right. It should be
Yeah.
scattered sites.
Okay.
But I can confirm, I'll put a red line and double check that against their list.
and we've checked the math on this, it does really equal 893,
Maybe we should do it one more time.
and I do that right now.
now do the stats around the 893 also get updated as well? So in that paragraph on 26.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, there's probably a percentage there
That's
somewhere that's
Yeah,
gonna
Slightly
change.
changed. All right. I can do that real quick.
Or we could just round it off.
9.
Now, this is gonna change with Edgemere, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
that's why I requested it, because we need to request that Edgemere be put on this list.
Yeah.
But because it hasn't been accepted by the state yet, we probably shouldn't put it on there yet.
No, don't put it on any, but, it may not be accepted next year. I mean, those things
Yeah,
creep on like,
all right.
glaciers.
Our new percentage is 6.415.
So before you do that,
Okay,
so in the table on page 27, it says 2010 census year-round housing units, 12,919, and then in the verbiage, it says 13,919, so,
thank you. No, I know it off the top of my head, it's 13,919.
okay.
That's a typo. And SHI units now should be 893 in that same table. 6.4% in that table is still correct. And I'll change up here above the first purple table to 6.4% here as well. All right, so I think, and Kathy, is it adding up? Otherwise we have
I've
to do
added
this
it
again.
3 times, and I'm getting 3 different numbers.
And in the final copy, the tables are the same size, right? They look it on the screen, just on the one that you emailed us, they're not the same.
They are
width.
not, no, they're not the same on this copy, so I can quickly,
Yeah, just that last table's out, that's all.
this smaller one.
The smaller one, yep, that's
Yeah.
out. On the printed copy, it's out.
I finally got it to 893, so I'm not gonna add it again.
I can confirm it as well. Good, okay.
Did you get it? Good, thank you.
This is gonna be something I fiddle with later. Okay, but I'll make sure they align.
Thank you. Okay, any other edits for affordable, for community housing? Because up next will be a vote.
Let's see.
So just on the last page, the footnote where it says sources, you might need to update that because now you're referencing an April 22nd, 2022 in your new table, so you might need to update your sources.
Great catch. All right.
One thing that I was taught when citing, and I think I put it in originally, when citing an internet source, you're supposed to have the date you cited it, which would have been in the original document.
The date you cited. I don't think I edited those, but if I did, I'll go
Yeah,
back and look.
Because I think, because the next day they could have changed it, and then it would be off, so that's why if you're supposed to cite the day you looked at it. I was taught, I
Right.
don't know. I was taught by my 22-year-old daughter, though, so. But she does do research, so.
No, I
Love it.
trust
Great
that.
English
Well,
teacher did
we're also
not
not
put it in
doing
that.
formal citations here,
Okay, that's
right?
fine.
I mean, we certainly could. I think they're just separated by semicolons.
All right, I don't think
Do
they're
you-
in any other category, so they don't
Yeah.
have to be there. I don't care, whatever the group wants.
I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah, I did put the dates in though, when I
Okay.
did it.
Sorry, those got lost.
So what would that apply to? I'm seeing one at the
Sources,
bottom, so just the communitypreservation.org, which has a date attached to it in the copy that I'm looking at,
It's Feb 1st.
February 1, 2022.
so.
Oh,
the-
you're not, do you mean, I thought you meant all of them. I do
Oh, wait,
have
no, they are
February
still in there,
1st.
I guess,
Yeah.
yeah, because like the 40B legislative was cited on December 29th, and then the same with the 40, so they are in there.
Okay. Sounds good. And we can.
But it doesn't have, I don't care if they're in there or not, if we don't have it, the other groups, but.
All right, yeah,
Yeah, does anybody care enough to
we're not
remove
getting
it?
graded.
No?
I think it's fine the way it is.
You think the professor will accept that?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I'm out of school now.
You
It's
sure?
right out
Yeah.
my other year.
You know, I would be amazed if anybody ever read that footnote.
You know, now you said that,
Yeah,
someone's gonna read that.
yeah,
Someone
all
will.
hell will
Someone
break
will.
loose.
Before we wrap this up, may I just share my last comment here?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the comments from the town manager's office was in reference to the appendix. So in other town documents, often the goals are separated out into like a table. Think like the master plan. I think the OSRP
Yeah.
plan may do that as well. And it was simply a suggestion, so we don't have to do it that way. But if we did want to add an appendix or an additional document of just the isolated goals in a table format to conform to the other types of plans, it was suggested we could.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea because it makes it easy to tell someone, if we reference them, saying, hey, here's, if you want to see all the goals, it's appendix A, B, whatever it is. And you're right. I mean, when I think of the master plan and 100-something pages, and when I'm going to the appendix, looking at that matrix, I think it'd be helpful. Certainly not in the printout here, but other appendix pieces
We can
as
look
well.
at that too.
Is also included. Does anybody have any opinion on adding that matrix of the goals?
Isn't it already in the PDF document, right?
I didn't,
That's just the needs.
those are the needs,
needs,
like,
okay.
right,
Yeah.
the goals would be like we have, I think, about 3, right, in each of the 4 categories. I would just probably take those out, put it in a table format. I think we'd have to see how it looks, because it may just look a little empty. I mean, I think of the master plan and I think of all the subcategories. But we can see how it looks. I can put it together.
Well, I think it also makes sense because of the fact that you have, we have the appendix that has, these are the needs, right? And so you're, it's kind of building a narrative
Yeah,
as well,
sure.
kind of re-adding it. So even if it looks a little,
I can try to
make
do
it-
it
it's fine.
formatted similar to the other ones.
Nice bold header.
Yeah,
You wouldn't take it out of each section, though, you just have
No.
a summary, okay.
yeah, I don't think that.
No, leave it in, yeah, leave it in.
Okay.
And just, I think, 'cause certainly if it's a one-pager, right, someone takes that as a one-page, I would just have it as a FY '23
Okay.
fiscal year on that. Please.
Okay. Do you
Any
want
other, anybody opposed to adding this?
Nope.
Doesn't sound
Okay.
terrible.
Cool,
It's a good idea.
good idea.
And Rowan, you did an amazing job pulling all the chaos
Yes,
we
she did.
produced into a document. Thank you.
Yeah, I bet,
Yes,
no.
You're here.
It's like
Yeah,
having
good job,
something
Rowan.
that was a pile of Post-it notes and then you put it together into a good book.
Thanks, guys. Well, all right.
Thank you.
If you're ready, you could also see the
Well,
appendix.
We also, we have to talk about the appendix as well.
All right, all right.
Make sure, just wrap it up, we'll finalize that.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yep.
Give me a second. My Adobe Reader has been kind of.
So the last two appendix, and, so there is, since you have more than one appendix now, have to just make the reference point.
Yeah,
Is it short enough?
do you think it's short enough to just be
Yeah, you're
under
right,
the
it's short enough.
appendix?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
There was just a reference to, in each of the goals, at the bottom it says, if you, to see the needs behind them, in essence paraphrasing, go see the appendix, which is the 2 PDFs that she's gonna bring up.
Oh, if I can, let's see. All right. I don't know why on earth this is here, but. Oh, you guys don't see it. Okay. Gotta pop up. All right. So, just to. Let's see.
Cover page is exciting, it really is. Yeah, you two did a great job.
Yeah.
in that.
It's beautiful.
All right, I'll zoom out so you can get the full effect here. That's the cover page. I will update the table. Oh, I added the project application process already to the table of contents, which is that changed heading we had. I don't think we've made any other changes. Oh, aside from affordable housing.
Yep.
Make sure to change that. Jeez. All right. Give me a second. All right. And then I can skip all the way down to the appendix, unless there's any comments on the table of contents. No? All right. So this is not, I did not redline this because it's an Excel document, and redlining Excel is really chaotic, so I hope you'll forgive this, but I did just make changes. There were a number of spelling mistakes that I think Melanie caught.
Verzini,
So
Audubon.
yes, so I think we've incorporated all of those. Obviously, Excel does not have spell check, so that was,
Affordable housing in here, too.
thank you. I apologize for missing that,
Oh, no.
but I will fix that. And yeah, if you want to scroll through slowly, I mean, what would you like?
No,
to
I mean,
do?
does anybody want to see at this point, anything
No.
in particular?
Read it a million times.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you did, and you called out all those things, so that's why it was important. I'm glad someone did.
It was good.
How to spell Audubon.
I don't know how to spell Audubon.
Me neither, apparently.
Spell check, tell me what it is. Say Odu and figure it out.
All right. You can just scroll through it. Can folks even read that? You want me to?
No, I mean, I think
Even
we
bigger?
did, just for
Okay.
viewers at home, we did review this document previously. This was just corrections to the, as you, Melanie was pointing out, text-wise, but we already reviewed this document in whole, and it's good. The point here was just to see, you know, as it flows through the community preservation plan, this is part of the appendix. And so just reminding us that, yes, this is there. And any other comments, edits to this?
The asterisk at the very bottom, comments and spreadsheet have not been edited,
Yes.
and edited only has one T.
Thank you. I think this was a suggestion from the committee in real time, but is this language okay with everyone? It was a comment made that some things in here aren't eligible for funding.
Right, would you be able to just zoom in on just that language?
Sure.
Sorry.
You can't read that?
And maybe that, just elaborate a little bit on that statement. The comments in the spreadsheet were submitted through the public comment process, have not been edited, and may not be eligible for CPA funding, or are not guaranteed to be. But just that folks, when they read quickly through, they realize that this isn't our to-do list. This is what the community came and suggested.
Well,
And not all
actually,
of it may fit the statutes.
There are a couple things in there where people said, no, don't do something. Do you remember that?
I do,
Somebody
actually.
said, no dog park.
Yeah.
And right underneath it, there was, yes, dog park. Yeah.
No, and some were very, very specific comments, which
Yes.
appreciated spurs more ideas, or maybe they will
Yeah.
work with someone and produce an application in those areas.
Who knows?
Is comments or suggestions?
Suggestions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it's more readable, understandable.
So suggestions submitted through the public comment process have not been edited, and may not be applicable for CPA funds?
Or eligible.
Eligible?
Have not been edited or not been vetted?
Or may not be in scope for CPF.
Or,
Well, the vetting mean, not vetting mean we haven't touched it, but I think you're trying to say we haven't touched the verbiage,
Okay.
Yeah.
literal writing?
you could say
Is
So
that-
suggest,
I
is that a
did
true statement?
paraphrase,
Yeah.
but like, they haven't been edited, I suppose, like, they haven't been weeded through.
I,
That makes
you know,
sense? How do we-
I think we should go more towards vetting that side, right? Because editing, you have taken edit. If
Yeah.
someone said, I didn't write that, that's my comment, I know that was my
Yeah.
comment, it's not, I don't see my
That's how I
comment.
spell Audubon. I
Yeah,
don't care what you
yeah,
say.
and
Does vetted though give the impression that it's gone through the process though? That's the only
It's true.
problem that I have with
What
vetted.
about,
okay, something else.
what about these
No, no, no,
tables
no, you're right.
contain suggestions from public sessions? They have not been vetted and may not be vetted. Need another word for vetted. Just say that they were
Filtered.
submitted by the public at various hearings, and they may not actually be eligible for CPA funding, or it reflects the ideas and thoughts of the community.
So maybe, Rowan, what you can do is just take out the words "have not been edited and just leave it as comments in spreadsheet may not be applicable or eligible for CPA funds.
Some comments in
that's-
spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Because some of these,
Right.
you look right at them and know right away, we can't do that with these funds.
So-
Somebody was a great idea, but we can't do that.
So some comments in spreadsheet may not be eligible for CPA funds.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
keep it simple.
Keep it brief?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So it does say at the heading, public forum input,
Correct.
and it says in the first column. So I don't know how many more times we need to say it.
Many.
Right.
Okay.
I will make that change in my Excel document.
See, aren't you glad we reviewed this document, right? See?
But
You
you know,
had to
every
review it.
time you see another layer,
Yeah.
you see something
You see it
else.
over there. Yes,
All right. Shall we move on to the next one?
yes, please. I had a coworker who said to me, don't make grandma's soup. And what he meant by that is that grandma just keeps adding stuff to the pot. Until it tastes great. So don't make grandma's soup.
We're actually
Or
done.
she has to throw it out.
This was the end. So actually, we've captured public forum input, and then above that, we had reviewed boards and committee input. So
Okay. Everyone feeling good about it?
Looks good.
Okay. So anybody have any concerns with approving based on the proposed comments? That we're enabling Gail to provide some information, Rowan to provide edits as discussed? Anybody have any reservations about doing that? About approving tonight? Under those conditions? I don't think- There you go. All good? Good? Okay.
So we're approving what we just went through, not the application process or anything.
Not the application process,
Okay.
just the community preservation plan, yeah.
And that, the application process will be in the table of contents at the last section, or where will?
The app,
Not at all in this
no, not
document?
included, yeah, it'll be its own separate living
Got it,
document.
okay.
Yep. Yep. Purposefully so that they have closure on one document and
Okay.
the other one lives. And we need to have the preservation plan done in
Okay.
this fiscal year, so this is the last chance. Okay,
Okay, so we don't need to take a vote on this or anything?
we do.
On this one.
We do.
Okay.
Yes, we do. Okay, so I will take a motion to approve the community preservation plan as discussed with edits to be forthcoming through Rowan, through Gail, as we all discussed about how those edits should be there. All-
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
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 Hey,
All those
thank
opposed?
you, Rowan.
All those opposed? Not hearing any? Approved. All right, congratulations, we have completed the community preservation plan. Many hours of reading and
Unbelievable.
looking at other
Time
groups.
she put
Oh,
into it.
God.
All right,
right.
next order of business. The next document that's coming. Make you think about it, but, you know, honestly, I think this one is not as challenging, I believe. I think that we will land on something, and we have a first draft here. I believe we're gonna have another draft that we wanna finish up in July.
Okay.
And really, we're gonna have input, the community preservation plan along with the draft, community preservation application will be sent over to the coalition as well for their feedback to be rolled into next fiscal year, right? So we're closing the books in this tonight, officially, as we just approved. So the application process, I apologize for not sending this any earlier, and to my working committee members for not getting this back to you earlier. I hope that everyone feels okay about it.
Looks good.
Okay. I'll just say that what I tried to accomplish was to incorporate the draft, the second round drafts that you sent me, bringing them in together, and then you'll notice that I also looked at Watertown from a procedural perspective, and just expanded that to try to, and hopefully, I landed on the 8 steps as we kind of breaking it out from the community preservation plan. Anyways, doing a lot of talking, blah, blah, blah. Does anybody need, like, it wasn't an email, so I don't know if anybody has a printout or needs a printout, or otherwise we'll just walk through it on screen. You good to go? You good to go?
I've got it.
I get my copy.
You get to go, okay.
Do you want specific edits or just do a first high?
I'll do
broad
I'll
look
do the
at
high,
the
yeah, I'll do the
content?
high level, and then I'll circle back to comments. Okay.
No, I have some.
I hope you do. I hope you do. Yes. This was me saying, I gotta get this thing out the door, and otherwise we'll have nothing to talk about. Okay,
It looks very nice too.
thank you. Okay, so the first, obviously, besides the cover page, which will to come, probably the same format as the community preservation plan with a different title. Just my thought from my cover page perspective. But, anyways, introduction. So just a little background here. Again, there's probably more wordsmithing here and more things to add here, but I just wanted to just gather the ideas on this page. So the main takeaway here is that introducing that this is your document for applying, establishing that there's 2 phases to the application process. There's a getting started and eligibility check, and then phase 2 is a funding request and review. And so again, I'm just breezing
The
through.
third paragraph
yeah.
was the one, though, that you mentioned that you'd like to pay some attention to as a group about whether or not it's broad enough. Applications may be submitted by.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to visit that now?
No, I just, we'll come back to that. So then I lead into that, from there is the allowable use chart. Then going into the timeline, you'll notice that this is an elaborated timeline as opposed to the condensed version that was in the community preservation plan. Again, noticing phase 1 steps, phase 2 steps, and then at the end, a funding approved. There's a paragraph here about off-cycle, time-sensitive applications, meaning what do you do if you got like a burning project that's like, hey, this is hot off the presses, so-and-so is selling this property, it's great for our town, lines up with our goals, can we make it happen, right? So here's the exception process, okay? Then community, the process at a glance, which is then a process flow chart, which will show you quickly how you could get through this process and just seeing where the exit points are, either denying or more information or to final approval. And then from there is the full narrative about the application process. If you're familiar with Watertown, their document, smells like Watertown exactly. I just changed the text relative to our community. Okay, so that's the full application, that's the full process. And now we get to the FY23 project eligibility application. Instructions, some information so we have some contact information, some detail about the project, eligibility. The second page to that is a little more information, getting some narrative about the project. And after we get the eligibility check, we talk with them, we get background information about what they're doing. If we feel that it's directionally gonna go well, or if we need more information, but at the end of the day, if they're good to go and we say we believe they're eligible, then we will invite them to fill out the FY23 project funding application, which be more an elaborate, more detail, And you see that present there, and then some attachments at the very last page here to say, hey, don't forget to attach these other pieces of information as well. Okay. So there's, I think, this is the first draft that we're seeing collectively together, so I'm anticipating there will be a lot of questions here. We'll go as recognized as 8:30 now, so we can certainly, go 20, 30 minutes, unless there's any interest by the committee to end earlier. But ultimately, I would like to at least get initial thoughts, reactions to this first. Have that as takeaways, and then really dive into July, because really, I don't think we should go any later than August. We should be walking into the August meeting with approving this process, so that folks in the community can start, and towns and boards, et cetera, can get moving on this. Okay. Deborah, you have a first question.
There is a little bit of wordsmithing, but we had mentioned earlier that we wanted to discuss how to best make a broad statement about who may apply. So it currently says applications may be submitted by municipal departments. My personal preference is we use the word "or" and not use slashes between words. That's my personal preference. But be submitted by municipal departments, boards, committees, nonprofit organizations, or community groups. Is that broad enough? And should we add in a statement, as the DPW gave us earlier, that, should it involve public land or space, one should include the appropriate department, or that sentence, that paragraph could use a little bit of work.
Now, that was addressed in the plan at some point.
I think it bears repeating. If it's that we're consistent with what we say in the plan is also here. Because folks are in a hurry. They might not thoroughly read both documents.
Yeah, the reader is in trouble most of the time. You can't say things too often.
Well, especially something important like that.
Yeah.
No. Is that a broad enough statement of who can apply? And should we just borrow that sentence that you added from the DPW to the plan?
I also think it's worth maybe mentioning too that I would like to bring the application to department heads as well for their review, probably sooner rather than later, to make sure they're comfortable with this process as well. If we are going to, ask that folks work with municipal departments for applications, so they might have comments as to where they want it to go as well. So
they might have
maybe
a way to say it.
Maybe we let them add it or suggest it where they would like it. And then
We don't want to encourage individual residents with a great idea to suddenly bombarding the Parks and Rec Department with, listen to my ideas, sign off on my paper. So I'm not sure how we balance that.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we don't want to terrify them to the point where they say, oh, I'll never be able to figure this out. I'll just forget it.
Right. We want it simple but responsible.
Yeah. At some point, I think we really ought to stress the fact that we will help people with their applications. It will be an open book test. And that we should really stress that idea that when you're filling it out, if you have a problem with it, one of us or all of us should be able to say, this is how it goes. And open book. We'll hold your hand while you do this. So nobody needs to feel like they're intimidated. Now, you have to come in with a pretty good idea, an idea of how you're going to fulfill it, but sometimes the paperwork can be really intimidating. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows we're on their
We've had
side.
intimidation yet.
I have a specific question about wording with that. What about religious organizations? Do we want to call them out specifically?
About what?
Religious groups? I'm thinking the First Congregational Church.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
Or are they a community group?
I don't know. I'm on the CPA website, and it says that multiple projects, church preservation projects, have been funded with CPA historic preservation funds. So it's possible. I'm just wondering if we want to call them out specifically to invite them essentially in this process.
Well, it's interesting because at the end of the day, it really, what we're approving is not who brought the application, we're approving the project, right? So,
Right.
so whoever is coming to the table to say, I'm gonna be the project manager, and here's the funding, and here's the letter of support, and here's, who's gonna get involved. If all that mix works well, then we're approving the project, not, we're recommending, I should say, we're recommending
We're
that project
recommending the
approval
project.
to town meeting. So it's
Does-
not about so much who.
Right. Well, I want to, I guess I want to make sure that those community groups who would be eligible to use this funding see themselves in this planning document. And so to that extent, my question is nonprofit organizations sufficiently specific to encompass the different kinds of groups that we have in town?
It would depend how they think of themselves. Because a religious, a faith community is a nonprofit community. I can't answer.
Okay. I think, why don't we just make note about here's a couple of things. Here's an
Okay.
opportunity to be more like inviting in the word, as you're saying, to say, hey, I'm reaching out to you. You're part of this community. Think about submitting.
And
at
I
the same-
do hope
yeah.
when we're done with all of this, we could send out an announcement to all those same groups and entities that we invited to the public forum. Because we did invite faith communities and schools and private schools and everyone we can think of to participate in that. So hopefully that would help be welcoming.
Okay.
Jason,
Yes.
in the organization's interest in applying, and the application was submitted by municipal departments, could we anticipate that an individual, not a group, would file a application? One person could have a small little project that they could manage themselves. It's kind of eliminated that in here. It's like you have to be a group in order to participate, as
Well, in
opposed
the-
to an individual.
In the subsequent sentence, residents are requested to work through one of those entities to ensure adherence to procurement and wage laws is applicable and leverage project expertise. Collaboration is encouraged.
No, she's talking about the paragraph above.
It's just the paragraph above.
I mean, somebody
Well,
wanted a
what-
bench or a sign
I
that they could
sometimes
handle
think what
themselves, that would be relatively.
an individual might propose, because they might have a great idea, but if it's on private property, their own property,
Well, it might be just putting up a sign or something someplace, or who
Yeah.
knows? I mean,
if they wanted the sign on public property, they would actually probably need to work with the appropriate municipal department to make
Well,
sure
yeah,
the
you
sign
would,
fits.
but we were talking about applications may be submitted by municipal departments, blah, 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 but it doesn't include individuals. It's all.
I'm sorry, Jim and Gail, I'm not with you because I'm in that same paragraph.
Those first paragraphs
No.
says the word welcome.
Organizations
Second paragraph
interested
says the
in
word
applying.
Oh, that reference to organization, sorry, all right.
Yep.
So it's,
Oh, good, Jason.
okay, got it.
Residents are requested to work through one of those entities. Okay, but it doesn't,
So I think what Gail's saying is that should you say organizations or, not slash,
Yeah.
individuals?
individuals.
Is there something though, Jason, that the coalition put out that advises us not
They did.
Oh, did
Yeah.
they?
to pursue funding with just individuals? And we can look into that more,
Yeah.
but I seem to remember
I think that
that.
would be my
No, it
question
is,
of
yeah.
whether or not it's applicable to an individual. I would think if an individual had a great idea for a sign, and maybe that goes on public property, it kind of becomes a public project.
No,
once
I
they-
wasn't thinking of that, but I mean, I can't off the top of my head think of a project. That's why people bring projects to us, because they have the idea. So it's like, I don't
But we
want to put a
couldn't do
project in
something
a,
on private. I mean, I couldn't
I'm not
come to
thinking
the CPC
private.
and ask for a cool sign on my yard.
No, I'm not thinking private.
Yeah.
Private wouldn't really apply.
What was the guidance from CPA?
Yeah,
Nothing there.
we'd have to look at it again. I think it was back in our training PowerPoint.
So too.
I think there was a slide that just advised against. I remember even like informal groups, like friends of
Oh, okay.
parks and
Neighborhood,
stuff, like
right.
neighborhood groups. I know Stuart from the coalition had just mentioned that it can get a little tricky giving funding to groups, especially if it's a lot of money, because who's
So
who,
wouldn't
who
it-
is actually behind that
Accountability
group.
and-
No?
So it's more, yeah. But maybe that's an ongoing conversation, you know, that doesn't have to be.
I guess we have to
solved
balance.
right
We
now.
definitely would like to encourage individuals to speak up, but we don't necessarily want, you know, me and my neighbor over a glass of wine to decide that we gotta run with this.
We can run with it and then call.
Right, we gotta run with this to the
Department X.
right group, or the right person, but that the two of us alone are not responsible for, it wouldn't make any sense to give us a check
So what
to
would,
go build
what
something.
would the definition of a community group be then? What would that, like, so, to Gail's point, like, let's just say me and Gail wanted to put a new playground at Edgemere Park. Could we do that, or could we not?
Do we have to
Do
form
we
a,
have to form a community group
And
in
if
order to do
it's-
that, or can Gail and I submit something to this board for review?
If you came to a workshop and you did, we would say, you know, actually.
Get a group.
Go talk to Angela first.
Well, talk to Ang, right,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like,
So, but we
consult
could
Angela.
still do the application process, is what I'm trying to get to,
but
right?
then if a friends group, like Friends of Prospect Park or Friends of the Public Library, those are usually nonprofit groups.
Right.
So are they,
I
they
think
excluded?
nonprofit groups weren't part. I think
It was
his mention
literally
of,
individuals
like,
or not, yeah.
in kind of informal groups that have named themselves, you know.
Sounds
so-
like we probably don't have the exact answer, but maybe the coalition does.
I think that's a really good
Clarification.
question first. Yeah.
So I think in general is about who who can submit, who do we want to encourage
Yeah, what
to submit.
entity or entities,
Right.
yeah.
All right,
I'm gonna come up with a plan all by myself.
Well, there'll be a special exception clause.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, there you go.
okay.
Skip wordsmithing now.
Yeah.
Just go for content.
Yeah, go for gold. Okay. Anybody, open floor, just anywhere you wanna tackle, to give us, kind of give direction about any thoughts about this.
Go ahead.
Josh?
So in the application timeline,
Yes.
is this now aligning with the CPA timeline that we have captured in the CPA?
That's what I was gonna say, number 7 is different now than.
Right. I like, Board of Selectmen and the warrant is now April to May.
Right, so it was now, 6 is CPC deliberates with a lowercase d, and votes on funding recommendations, and then semicolon, Board of Selectmen sign the town meeting warrant. That moves up into 6. The date's now February through March, and number 7 now reads, the Finance Committee and BOS deliberate on funding recommendations. And that's April, May. Thank you. Okay. Any overall, like, comments, thoughts, like, oh my goodness, so many steps, or that's good, anything else?
So in every step, whether it be off-cycle or whether it be whatever, the first thing is attend a workshop. So the application process, then the funding part of it, everything says attend. Step 1 is repeated 3 different times in the 3 different sections. So my question was going to be, as you go through the process, do you have to complete step one each time, or is it, once you do it, it's done, and you don't have to take the workshop 3 times, is what I'm trying to get to. So in the different steps, right, you outlined, Jason, or that's outlined in the doc, right?
Right.
Step one is always there at the beginning, and it's there for the application, it's there for the off-cycle, and it's there for the funding. The same thing. Step one is always there. And I was just curious if that's what the expectation was.
I wonder if that looks different online, 'cause my printed copy, we have phase 1, steps 1, 2, 3. Phase 2 starts with step 4, 5.
That's not what, so again, maybe it's just the way
Yeah,
that I'm
my-
reading it.
It's,
What page are we on?
I don't have page numbers on it, because it's
Oh, yeah,
individual.
page 3.
Yeah,
Yeah, why?
but there's, there is, every time there's a phase, yeah, anywhere it was mentioning the project steps, yes, I agree with Jim noting that it says read CPA plan and attend, in this case, is optional application workshop. But the other side of it does say read CPA plan and attend workshop, and the other one says read, yeah. So I mean, again, it was intended to be all 3, it's like progression. So the half-page timeline, at a glance, and then the process. So they will all say the same thing. But you have to, and that's to your point.
Or should, should they need to? Like,
Yeah.
there's reasons why. Like, I just, when I did a quick review, that's what I saw right off the bat.
Maybe it would make sense if on the process at a glance sheet, the one that has all of them, maybe the parts in phase 1 are one color, and the parts in phase 2 are another. You know what you have?
Well, no, but Jim's point is, do you have to go to a workshop?
No, it says optional on the first one. I think we just make sure that it says optional. And some people will know exactly what to do.
So
I don't think we force people to go.
where this is very new for our community, and this is a living document, I would suggest that they'd be required to do a workshop, because unless they've gone through this process before, I know I haven't, I think you should be required to go through the workshop. And then if you've got experience after going through workshops, then maybe you can omit doing that in the future. But at the outset, I think we should be requiring the workshop.
Then how many workshops are we gonna hold if whoever's writing it for a particular group can't make it when we hold it?
I'm just
Yes,
throwing
and
it
Because
out
I
there.
feel like the
And
onus
we have
is
to
on
meet
them.
in quorum.
I feel like the onus is on the applicant
I'll-
to read
I
the
don't-
plan,
I'll-
to read the application, and put forth an appropriate project eligibility form. And if we're willing to take questions, we're willing to be contacted. If they still don't do it right, that's kind of on them. If we have it spelled out, I mean, we'll try to, maybe we have more than one workshop, but I don't know that any of us want to hold 10 workshops just to meet everybody in the community's schedules.
Could a workshop be recorded so that an individual wouldn't have to attend? They
Right.
would have to be able to view
A
or
webinar.
webinar or
Oh,
something.
But how much are we going to offer in a workshop that can be recorded? That isn't going to be us essentially reading what we put in the application and in the process. I mean, I would think of a workshop being a little bit more interactive, that someone could say, wait, I didn't understand this, or can you clarify that? Will they all consent to be recorded, that conversation? I guess I'm trying to think what we could put out as a
Oh.
pre-recorded workshop.
So what is a workshop, right?
Yeah.
So what is in a workshop? The way I was interpreting how other communities that were doing these workshops or, and thinking about putting this together was, I see that as, it's informal, the agenda is, applicant, Jane is here to talk about this idea and pitch the idea, and we're just open conversation about that. But I think that we'd also be I think we would need to have maybe some department representatives that could speak to more detailed stuff. So let's say, maybe Kevin Esposito came, or some folks that would just, if we need to have outside expertise to be able to answer right there in the conversation, because if we just sit there and say, yeah, I don't know, then what was the point of the workshop? So if you need somebody like, was it Kelly from Housing
yes.
Authority? Yeah,
Yep.
right. Right. So just bring in folks that are closer on the ground to that, somebody from conservation, the engineer, right, conservation commission engineer. So anyway, that was the idea about the workshop.
We had talked about producing a tip sheet, how to be successful, maybe a glossary of terms. I'm wondering if that would be, because we are trying to make it pretty simple. Tell us what you want to do. How is it going to be successful? How is it going to benefit the community? What do you need? And how does it continue? Those are kind of the big things. So I don't know if we need to make it mandatory. Because frankly, if a department head were going to apply, I'm not sure that we want to ask them to come to a workshop so they can figure out how to fill out the application, because they're probably going to know more than we do.
Yes, that's entirely true. You know, I have a feeling that once we get familiar with this, and we've been through this for a few years, we'll laugh at this, and they'll just say,
And
Yeah, we know what
we'll
we're doing.
edit the application. I mean, we'll definitely find things each time.
yeah.
Was the expectation for each application that gets submitted that we workshop it as a group?
No,
No.
no, there's
I mean, what you just described is kind of led me to believe that as Jane Doe came in with an application, that we were gonna workshop it together, right? And then that to me said, oh, that means that everyone is gonna get the same treatment. Or does Jane get one special and Jim doesn't, right? Like, so I just wanna make sure that we're clear on what we're gonna do.
Okay.
With each one. If we're gonna do it for each one, I have no problem with that. But if we're gonna do it as a general, here's what the general idea behind it is, then I don't think we need to necessarily focus on an individual's application. We can talk in generalities about the process, right? If we need to, again. I'm just trying to, do we need it at the application process? Sounds like yes. Do we need it at the funding process? Do we need to have the individual attend the workshop? I don't know. And again, not knowing what the workshop's gonna look like, I just don't know
Right.
if we need it at each point.
I think as you're bringing this up, it leads me to believe more that this is an optional step, in my personal view, right? You're just looking at saying, for success, you really should read the plan, right? Because otherwise, if you're just throwing an idea out there, you're wasting everyone's time, right? If it doesn't line up. And the workshop is there as an aid to help kind of prime the idea and get us warmed up to the idea, get the applicant warmed up to the idea, and kind of talk out some things. But if you don't do any of that, it's still okay, because you really need to get to that eligibility form, right, and get that in the door. So if you didn't do your homework and you didn't help us along the way, then you're running a risk of not getting approved, and then you miss a cycle, right?
Do you
miss
think
the
a
year.
workshop's more helpful for that eligibility phase of just figuring out, or is it more helpful for the actual application? Once, if somebody comes with, I want to bring back Toys R Us and big box stores, well, that's not eligible, and it's not going to get through the eligibility phase. Do we want to spend a lot of time explaining to them that in a workshop? Or would you rather have somebody come with an idea that's good but needs some fine tuning? They're eligible, but now they need to work on the application, and we do the workshop then?
What I'm
Right now,
seeing
we're
is that
proposing it early, but I wonder if
Yeah.
it's part of phase 2 rather than phase 1. My notes, I have it going back and forth,
Yeah.
because I'm not sure the answer.
I believe we're not going to get it perfect, and we're gonna revise this along as we live this. I think my opinion here is that workshops are probably going to be best for the non-town department requesters, right? So those
Yeah,
community
definitely.
groups, or et cetera, that say, I don't even know where to begin. It's just like, I got an idea. What do I do, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the workshk is really geared to,
That
just
makes
kind of seeing
sense.
that. What I see trying to helping out and working full, like, you're vetted, now here's a project and we're just kind of having review, is like what planning does, right? So you already had a few cycles with that applicant, but now you're really sitting down and everyone's peppering you with questions, and town department, planning department, or any other relevant departments that are part of this are gonna already have their questions and already kind of, emailed it to the applicant, and now we're just formally getting together and discussing that in an hour, 2-hour session to review that project, and, looking at slides and looking at plot plans, et cetera. So I think I think that all those questions will be more like in mailboxes and will have plenty of airtime along the way, because I don't think it'll just get all done in those meetings. But I think that the workshop piece is helpful to those early applicants who just don't know where to go next.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the first step would be workshop would be wonderful, is to attract the community itself towards the program and also explain all that. Maybe share the plan itself with the community who comes in.
Yeah.
In the right. That way they're more comfortable. Okay, I know the plan. I saw the made in the workshop. I know who's who. By going to the workshop, now I can look whether my project is eligible, will be eligible or not.
Maybe a workshop, there'd be people with a common idea, maybe they'd end up working together and coming forward with an even better application, maybe.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Oh, yeah,
Now-
and also as, sorry, Mel, and as Melanie mentioned, well, maybe first 2 cycles, maybe we need to have this kind of workshop, and then maybe we can record it and then put it on the portal.
Well, I mean, but I'm not with you guys in terms of recording it, because it really is about that individual applicant and what they're bringing forward. So if someone comes in, when August comes in talking about a dog park, and another one talks about having a sign at a trailhead, but I mean, I get another one like that for a long time, or things may have changed in the next cycle, right? So it may not be a lot of the same. I think it's good if it's repetitive, right? Like training documents are great if it's repeatable, right? But if it's going to be case by case each time, then I don't know how much you can record.
Yeah. And I'm starting to think about when we start to deliberate, projects for voting on them, that has to be open meeting, televised, right?
Yeah.
But what about the preliminaries?
Right, I wrote that down. I'll have to see how other communities do it. My thought is if you're meeting on CPC business, you're meeting in an open meeting.
Yes.
So the forum would be, you'd have to have a quorum, you'd have to open it. It would be a structured meeting. I don't know if there's a way around.
Well,
Around it,
like we've
but
had a
I
little
can
working
see.
group, as long as we're not a quorum, we're 4 people,
Yeah.
and we talk and, do things and,
I'll look into it.
Yeah.
I'll see if there's any kind of informal way that the AG's office lets groups to discuss like that, but.
there's gotta be a way.
So.
Yeah.
And to your point, Steve, the more instruction we could give, even if it's not a video, it's this and more tips for success, or
I think that the tip sheet idea is probably good. A successful application will contain bing, 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 right? And then that at least primes the individual as to what they should be looking for and knowing what they're getting into, right? Because you're right, there are 1,000 wonderful ideas out there, and they just throw out they're like grenades. They throw out in the middle and they just walk away, right? And you'd need somebody that understands that it's a great idea. There's effort that needs to go behind that, and you're going to be a part of that effort. It's not going to be you're going to give somebody else work, right?
Yeah, I think I've seen something in the coalition website along those lines, stressing, observe the deadlines, things like that.
Here are your 5 keys to success, right? If you want to be successful.
Yes, fill out all the blocks.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all these.
So, yeah, so that idea, I like it. It kind of settles me on the, I just hate to get inundated with a lot of just really loosely thought, and not necessarily loosely thought, but just not knowing the process, because we don't really know the process directly, right? I mean, we're learning it as we go along, and I think the residents are probably a little bit less informed than we are, right? So anything that we can do to help them understand what they're getting into and what they should look for, I think that would certainly settle me.
It's very difficult to deal with unstructured information, right? So if we have more of a kind of a consistent format, it'll help us when it comes to the decision process, right? So the more we can give them to kind of funnel, take that idea out here and kind of bring it to a little bit more consistent, I just call it the key to success, whatever it is, tech tips, whatever it is, to try and help the groups funnel through the process, I think is going to be helpful to us.
absolutely.
Okay. And maybe to that point, if there is an opportunity to record about generally tips, you know, narrating that, then I think certainly we could consider that down the line. Okay. So I'm gonna put it here that is the questioning whether step one really should be a step one, right? And it would just to be a notification, hey, if you're interested in this, come attend open, open time, so do we need that?
Even just reword it, read CPA plan and consider attending optional application workshop.
Okay.
This- We will certainly have applicants who don't read the plan. We're not gonna have them do a book report, well, no.
Okay. Anybody okay with having CPA saying you should read the CPE plan?
We all
All right,
agree.
so we're staying with the step
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
All right, we're good, okay. It's just about optional or recommended.
Just, to me, it's just about where it
kind of
fits
the
in the
basic.
overall process. And I like Deb's idea about, hey, if you've already done, like, as part of the beginning process of doing the application, you've done this, and, you know, it's color coded, okay, good, I've done that, then as part of the funding, you don't need to do it again,
Right.
because you've already done it,
Yep.
right? That was my biggest concern, Jason, was that none of whether it was optional or mandatory, it was just, do you have to do it in each phase of the process as the applicant goes through the process of submitting the application, the process of verifying the funding, do they have to do that step twice? They probably
No.
only need to do it once.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yep,
Sorry.
yep,
I don't know if
gotcha.
that makes sense.
So your numerical starts from second.
Yeah, they've already done that.
Yeah.
Now we're going to the next one.
Yeah, and I thought that, that where it's saying 1 through 8, and, you know, so 1 through 4 is phase 1, and 5 through 8 is
There you go.
2,
Yeah.
so,
Yes.
gotcha, all right, so it was just carrying over the phase and color coding, color.
Did such a nice job with color in the plan, why not stay with that?
Gail?
Okay. I'll get my markers out.
All right, any big things you want to bring up at this point, because it is 9 o'clock.
Just one comment, we're calling the application process, so we have that. And then the next section, which is the funding, we are calling it the fiscal year 23 project eligibility application. So do we need to have either fiscal 23 in both or in none? Is there, and I would also call it the project application process. And then the second part would be the project eligibility application or something, but just so our titles are somewhat consistent.
So, I was thinking that perhaps this would be the cover page, introduction, the allowable use chart, and the timeline with the process steps would be one document.
Okay,
And then the applications were separate, physically different documents.
okay.
You probably have, given your background on this, in this subject, do you think it's
And-
better to have it all together in one document?
Often, some of the major funders, if there's a letter of intent phase, which is essentially what our project eligibility phase is, you don't actually see the full application until you've been told, yes, you may proceed, which, on one hand, it stops you from getting too far ahead and going to a lot of trouble to find out you don't get to. But on the other hand, I know I like to look ahead and know what I'm up against. I mean, we certainly, I guess it would depend on how much time we ultimately give people, because I could see us responding that, yes, Jim LeMay, that project meets all of our eligibility standards. You are invited to apply for funding. Here's the application. And that might stop people from thinking they can jump ahead to step 2, if we're gonna do a 2-part process.
Okay. All right, any other big pieces?
Jason,
Nope.
I do have one.
Yes.
I am wondering if the working group has considered project evaluations and like scoring criteria.
Yes.
Wondering, I know that's not in here, just want to mention to keep that in mind. I know the planning department is doing something that we wish that we had more clear evaluative kind of measures. So I don't know if that's going to be included or added here, if it's going to be a point system or what.
Rajesh has started on that. He's done some really good work
Great.
with it so far.
Okay.
Just don't have it here yet.
No, he was doing the project closeout.
Close out.
I did the,
Oh, you did that one?
Voting.
I'm sorry.
it's all right, yeah, no.
One of these gentlemen
Well,
did
It's
a
okay.
nice
Either way.
job.
The working group did, and
But
we have it, right? So, yeah.
I do want to make the point, I suppose, I thought of that simply because I think we also want to start to think about a internal review process that accompanies this application process, right? So what is staff doing? What are CPC members doing? What are other departments doing? Are we going to ask for comment letters? These are all things, I guess, that happen in ZBA or planning board application processes, and we can use that to inform this potentially, but just something to mention now, just to start thinking about.
Yes, you know, it feels to me, because if we stick with this timeline of like I feel we're gonna be October, November before we approve it, so I think we need to have some like breakout session with yourself, Bernie, to kind of get that track going of
Right.
what does it look like for internal review, because that
Absolutely.
alone sounds gonna be pretty big.
Yeah, and I think I'd like to actually have that conversation sooner rather than later, once we have at least working draft of this document, if that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the working group should at least meet once on this to get, take your input so far and revise it in, and then.
Great.
And then send it to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, we should
Um,
start scheduling something because people are gonna start going away.
Yes.
Yes. Never go away. Always home.
Well, you know, I'm usually home, but every now and then I sneak out of town.
Before I go camping, in case I don't come back.
Gotta come back.
Do we need to have any rooms scheduled far in advance for like workshops or anything like that, or?
Yeah, probably. I mean, we need to set our next dates.
Yeah, so I
So
think,
we'll do that at the next meeting, and then I will reserve the rooms once we have the dates.
yeah, so I think, I just wanna ask, is there anybody, I mean, here, you know, obviously, we just finished the plan, and half the group was already focusing on that public forum, so you kinda like, half are in doing this work and another half are not, so, I could certainly talk with you individually about kind of ways to kind of pick at this. You okay with that, right?
Yeah.
To pick at this. Does anybody look like they have availability or interest in working on this side of the house? In terms of the application process and have bandwidth to do more? I don't wanna exclude people, I wanna include people, so if you want more, then I wanna make you feel like you're,
I'd be more than happy to help.
okay.
I mean, the thoughts
Thank you,
from, especially folks who don't fill out applications for funding, my job is applying to foundations for money over and over again. But people who don't do that every day, if you could take a look, particularly at the questions that are being asked in the project funding application, and just think, does this seem like it would spur you to tell a story? Do you feel like you understand what we're asking of you? 'Cause that would be really helpful to make sure that, I'm not too scarred by the hoops I've jumped through for the last 20 years, and that we're putting out something that's user-friendly and something that invites people to feel like they can participate and gets them to.
Agreed. All right, I think we'll just move into the next piece here, which is to say that agenda items. Okay, next steps, I'll go to correspondence first. No correspondence has come in since then. Okay. This is a new
Nobody wrote to
item,
us.
just to make sure that if there was any correspondence that came so far, I would imagine there would be coming as we start alerting the community that there is. This is turned on, right? So good, nothing there. All right, so what is the next step? Well, officially, our fiscal year has ended, right, with this meeting officially. The working group will convene at least before July 1st to get a revision to the application as it was submitted over to Rowan, so that this way it can go over to Stewart for their feedback and then internal review to get that, as Rowan had discussed. So just a reminder, you know, certainly if you haven't had discussion already with your committees or boards, in terms of like staying on board for next year, please make sure you do have the conversation, because our terms do end July 1st, right, or June 30th. And so it's important to do that.
So the planning board did have, that as one of the agenda items last week, and Perna Rao will be the representative for the fiscal 22-23 year.
Okay.
I still have a few days before the end of this month, so I can certainly take a look at the application process and offer some insight if I see anything that would strike me as
That would be
something.
great.
You know, thank you everyone for all the work that's been done thus far this year. We've decided to have Perna be the planning board representative.
Okay, well,
Now, unfortunately, I was looking at the calendar, because I didn't realize that the July calendar was already part of the last year's, because it kind of rolled into the following year.
right.
Perna will not be available on the 12th of July, and I am not available either, so I couldn't even come in as a sub. I don't even know if that's even possible. An alternate on the board. Right, it's a planning board
Yeah, right.
representative, right? So it's something to consider for rules and regulations for the committee for the future. When you have
Yeah.
representatives from boards, if
Interesting.
you need to have scheduling conflicts resolved, that might be something to consider.
Is it July 12th, you said? That's a Tuesday.
It was 11th.
I thought it was, whatever that
11th.
week.
11th,
July-
okay, all right. good,
July,
thank
that
you.
week of the July, we're both away.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So I apologize.
And that's the meeting where we set the schedule for the
I can be in communication
Yeah,
with him.
yeah.
I don't, we'll
Yeah.
make that
I
work.
wasn't sure if we were gonna have that conversation, 'cause I had the same conversation with him on Thursday. I said, we'll probably have the schedule for the fiscal 22 year for you. I'll get that out to you as soon as I know what it is, but apparently that's gonna be done next month, so.
Yes, yeah, along with voting on new officers and.
Yep.
So, okay, so can we just say that we'll, through Rowan, we'll figure out whether we need to change the meeting date
For July.
for July?
I'm not following. You'd like to change the meeting date for July, or
Um,
I had offered to work with Perna to make sure he could do the proposed dates that I'll be sending out for voting on next meeting. Is
Gotcha,
that clear?
yep.
But would you like me, are you wondering if we can reschedule the July meeting?
Well, I mean, we should make sure
We try.
we should have every member there, yeah, you know, to also weigh in on voting officers as well, right?
Sure, yeah,
Suggestion might be to wait a little bit,
yeah.
because our meeting for the Parks and Cemetery is next Tuesday. So maybe there might be a change, I'm not sure, I don't know if there is or not, but I think maybe it would be a good idea to just kind of wait until everybody's had an opportunity to be on their individual boards' agenda and see if there's any other new members that are gonna be part of this before you go ahead and start changing dates, because maybe you'll have to change them again.
Right, right.
I mean, I think it would be hard to change the July meeting unless we're doing it like now, because we'd have to vote in this meeting to change the next date,
Did we have it on the
Because
11th or the 12th?
the 11th.
You'll-
Because that's been voted on by the committee, so we couldn't, I think it's probably best that we keep it unless we want to change it in a vote tonight. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but we don't know
Yeah.
where we're gonna
Oh,
land.
right, so my
given-
point is-
yeah.
That's my point, yeah.
We seem to be in a real bind here. I don't know if we can figure this out.
Can't we just have 3-year, everybody?
It's just terms.
That is, I think Steve did bring up a good point, looking at our bylaws, if perhaps, there's a primary representative from each of the standing boards,
alternate.
but in the event of their absence, that they are allowed, the board is allowed to send a
Oh,
representative.
there is no, there is something in the bylaw about if about quorums and,
I'll look, but
okay. Is everyone okay with leaving the date as is, the July
Yes.
11th date?
Mhm.
Okay. Anybody ready to call a day?
Past my bedtime.
Okay, we'll leave it July 11th. And communicate through Rowan in terms of how we're gonna work the July 11th meeting.
okay,
Okay,
sounds good.
all right, cool,
And I will be staying on as the Conservation Commission representative.
thank you. So voted, yeah?
So voted.
Okay, cool, thank you.
It's on our agenda for Monday.
Just to say at a meeting, those of you that are representing boards and committees will need to get sworn in again and go through the town clerk's process basically for that. So I'll send you an email and letter as well, but
Okay, Gail?
just a reminder.
I don't know, my term is up the end of this month, and I don't know if that I've been reappointed to the commission, so I'm assuming that tomorrow's meeting, we're having a meeting on Wednesday, excuse me, that I would be reappointed to this, but that could end the end of June if I'm not reappointed to the commission, so
Right.
it's kind of like, I don't know, whatever happens, happens.
I talked to the town manager's office about that, and they're aware of
Yeah, those kind
this,
of-
and it'll
timeline
just be
things,
something
so
we'll
I'm assuming
work with.
that, what happens with assumptions.
And
We don't-
I'm also.
And as well, yes, that's what I
yeah.
was wondering if
As
you'd
an
heard
at-large.
anything.
Well, they need to meet, right? The
jeez.
board of selectmen need to meet, right? So, it's been great. This is my last time. It's been great, Gail. Sorry, everyone's great, so, all right, well, hopefully, we'll see. All right, and
Hopefully it'll
if
be
any,
some
if
consistency,
any faces
yeah.
change, you're still live in Shrewsbury and, still welcome to, be a member of the public and bring a proposal. Okay, everyone had enough. All right, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Cool. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.